Hi guys, it's Katie and it's nap time. And I thought I'd show you what happened here the other day. We had a really intense storm come through and I was standing right by this door here. I'm at my sliding glass door and I was watching the storm and hail was coming down and I was sitting here worried about my garden out here. And the wind picked up, really picked up, and it was just like horizontal rain, and just past here, the end of my porch, I couldn't see past that. It was just white, completely whited out. And I was sitting here thinking, that the hail was going to damage my garden, and I haven't had such a good start to my garden ever. Like, my garden is doing awesome this year, and I was really bummed about that. And the wind really picked up, and I grabbed my camera because I wanted to film it. It was so intense. And right when I started filming, this branch came down, so I didn't actually hit the record button. And then when this branch came down, I just, we collected the whole family. We went down in the basement for the remainder of the storm. But I wanted to show you the aftermath of how it looks now. So this huge branch from this tree up here fell, and it crushed this part of the garden bed, which not that worried about. It was kind of rotted out anyway. That's probably why it crushed so easily, and it damaged that part of the so there and there of my dogwood tree. Also not a huge concern, but this is a pretty substantial limb. Like, this is basically an entire tree came crashing down and did some damage to the roof of my covered porch. You can see up there. But I wanted to show you my garden, which survived, and except for, a few tomatoes came down, between the hail and this giant tree branch coming down, look how close it came to my garden. And actually, these green tomatoes on the ground, I think those are more from my little girl than the actual storm. But see how close it came? And this one tomatillo back here doesn't have a cage. It kind of got flattened just from the wind and everything. And I had been putting the cages on all these tomatillos and the other tomatoes. So I'm glad I did it because they survived. I don't see really any damage to my garden at all. But that is how close this giant branch. Back up, see if you can see how big this branch is. Like, it takes up my whole yard basically. So I'm really happy that it did not crush my garden. It sucks that it hit my roof up here, but I'll show you. You can see there's the gutters all pulled down, and the last little section of the roof is damaged. But we had the adjuster for our homeowners insurance come out, and they're actually going to replace this whole roof and just get it all fixed up. There's also some shingles on the main part of the house, the roof on the main part of the house, that just blew off, so they're going to patch that up as well. But yeah, that is pretty scary. But the neighbor was really nice about it. She came over. She's actually a renter, so she came over and made sure everybody was okay and got in touch with her landlord and all that. So I'm pretty lucky that's all the worst that happened. I'll show you in here. This is what it looks like from the underside. You can see the light through there. When I first looked out after the storm passed, I thought that these had just popped out. Sometimes they get a little saggy and pop out. But then when I saw the light coming through here, I knew it was more than just that. And there's my clothesline, not in use at the moment. Gotta get all this out of here before I can put it back up. So yeah, that's what we've been dealing with. The storm has passed, but I don't know if the camera's picking up how red it is out here. Definitely that eerie after storm red-green sky going on. Very creepy. So for the rest of nap time, I'm gonna work in the kitchen. I actually cleaned my kitchen this morning waiting for that guy to come. He came pretty early, so I was kind of just puttering around. My kitchen is pretty clean for being the middle of the afternoon. Usually it's a disaster zone this time of day, and then I clean it up just in time to mess it up for dinner, and then I have to clean it up, and then in the morning it gets a disaster again. So I just was gonna show you my garlic here. I harvested my garlic and I planted many more than this, but I killed a bunch of it when I top dressed with that compost. I just crushed them and I thought they would poke back up. I think if I would have top dressed while they were still kind of emerging from the ground, they would have, but they had been out of the, emerged for several months when I top dressed, so they just got crushed and killed. So that's all the garlic that I got, and it's just kind of drying out here. And I'll probably just peel it all and put it in some brine and ferment it. And that's what I wanted to do. That's, I have always grown garlic just a little bit, and it always starts to sprout or go bad. But what I found is if you ferment it, it preserves it. And then once I realized that, I thought I could grow a year's worth and have it on hand, but it didn't turn out so well this year. So I'll have to do better next year. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I think I'm going to redo some of my garden beds, so I don't know if I'll have real estate to plant garlic in over the winter. But I'm going to go ahead and make some pizza crust. I have my recipe here. I just write all my recipes out on index cards. I prefer to handwrite recipes rather than print them off of a printer for various reasons. But these are all my bread recipes. I just put them on these index cards, and then these are photo albums that you can get at the Dollar Tree. You can also sometimes find them at the little dollar section of Michael's, and they sell them at Target too, but they're more than $1 at Michael's or at Target. So this is the pizza crust recipe that I've always used, and it's from All Recipes. And I usually make whole wheat for me. My husband prefers white, so if I have enough white flour, I don't know. That's all the all-purpose flour I have. And that's my whole wheat flour, but I have a whole other bag back there. But I might make 2 batches and then I can freeze half of each, so I will have it for next time. But I just put all my recipes in here, and I have all these different ones. So I have, this one has all my soups, and I have the index on the front. This is salad, sides, and sauces. Let's see, this one is, this one doesn't have a index, but this is all my sweet baking. This is chicken recipes, and I just number each card. This is like meatless and seafood. So the front is my index, so number 1 is falafel. So I just turn to page number 1, and I have falafel. And I have this is actually a printed out recipe. This is one my friend gave me. So that's page number 2. Page number 3 is Creole jambalaya, which is number 3 there. So that's how I keep all of my recipes. And I have recipes written out that I don't need recipes for, but it makes it a lot easier when I'm writing my grocery list and when I'm meal planning, because I know how to make a lot of these recipes, like gumbo and jambalaya and even the mung beans. I know it when I'm there to cook it, but when I'm trying to think of how many different recipes have onions or how many different recipes have bell peppers, or how, when I'm making my grocery list, it's a lot easier to have that all written out. And then some of my books, I even have the calorie count. Like this recipe, I made this and I added it all up, and it's 1,200 calories per pot. I can divide it into 6 servings or however many servings I want. And I have a lot of these recipes on my my Sparks People, which I used for more than a year. So a lot of these recipes are all ready to add to my tracker, which I don't do that all that much anymore. I probably should, but I don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this up here on the tripod and make my pizza crust. I'm gonna put half of this in a container to freeze, since my husband and I make separate pizzas since I don't eat dairy, and I like whole wheat and he likes white flour crust. So I usually will freeze half of each batch, and I have these containers in the half size, the 1 pint, and they fit the ball nicely, but I usually take it out of the freezer and put it in the fridge, and it needs room to kind of expand there. So I just pack it down in the bottom, and there's a lot of wasted space here while it's freezing, but then when it thaws there's enough room for it to grow. So that's my whole wheat one, and I'm gonna make a white flour version. Remind me to get more flour. This is my kombucha. I have, I don't know how many I even have, 9 quarts of kombucha going. I want to do a kombucha video, like sort of like a how-to, my method sort of thing. So I wanted to build up a bunch of different scobies. This is actually my SCOBY hotel right now, where I just put my extra scobies. But every time you brew, you either get a thicker SCOBY or a new SCOBY. And I want to have a whole bunch, because what I want to do is I want to brew every day for like 10 days, so that when I make my video, I can show you the progression like all at once. I thought that would be pretty cool. And then this is the one that I'm doing the second ferment on right now. But I got my pizza dough finished. So this is the white one, this is the whole wheat one, and I just put some olive oil and tossed it around. And then I'm gonna put them in my microwave with the steamy cup of hot water like shown in my other bread baking video. And I'll just leave them in here to rise, and then when my husband comes home, he likes to build his own pizza, so we'll roll it out. And then I'm gonna make some bubble tea for me. So I have these bubbles that I cooked already. These are the long cook ones. I was getting the instant ones. I like the long cook ones a little bit better. So I cook up a bunch, since they take like an hour and a half to cook. So let me get my tripod and I'll show you how to put this together. Okay, so I cooked these the other day. They've been in the refrigerator, and when they're in the refrigerator, they kind of get a little bit firm again. So I just reheat them a little bit. And I like bubble tea hot. A lot of times, especially if you get it at bubble tea shops, it's cold. I prefer it warm. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the boiling water over the bubbles just to kind of loosen them up a little bit. I'm also going to go ahead and steep the tea. You can also make the tea and pour it over if you have already brewed tea. And I'm using this chai tea from Trader Joe's. I really like it. It's delicious. I'm just gonna let this steep and let the bubbles rehydrate for a few minutes. I'm also gonna add the honey while it's hot, just so it helps it dissolve. And I just add probably more than I should, but I like it sweet, so. I don't know if you can see, there's a small center to the bubbles which is not fully cooked all the way through. If you cook them all the way through, they kind of just turn into slime. So you cook them until they're nearly cooked through, but that center, which is uncooked, or not fully cooked I should say, is where you get sort of the chewy gumminess. So that is what they look like once they're warmed up, compared to what they look like when they're cold. They're just kind of opaque all the way. I'll put that in there too. And the honey should be fully dissolved. And I'm just gonna leave the tea bag in for a couple more seconds and top off with some almond milk. However much you like. And then you can add ice if you want it cold. But that's how I make bubble tea. And to drink it, to be able to suck up the bubbles, I have this bubble tea straw. It's 1/2 inch diameter, so it's really big. You can also get, these are milkshake straws. I got these at Bed Bath & Beyond, and they're also really big, so they're perfect for sucking up the bubbles of the bubble tea. And you can use any kind of tea that you like. I like either like chai tea or Earl Grey tea, things that I would normally add milk to anyway, to make milk tea, which is pretty classic for bubble tea. You could also just use any kind of brewed tea. You could also add these bubbles to any beverage pretty much. A lot of times they're added to like fruit smoothies, but I really like the tea, the milk tea. And I have probably about 4 times as much bubbles as you normally would get, but I really like the bubbles. So now I have this mess to clean up, and I need to cut up the veggies for the pizza. So just like the topping, some onions and green pepper. I'm not sure what else I have in the fridge, but I think I'm going to use the rest of nap time to film another video. I'm doing a collaboration with Allison in Mommyland. We're gonna do a garden tag together, so keep your eye out for that. And thanks for keeping me company during nap time today. Bye guys.